always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jessica, and I'll be sharing some of the top entertainment news that you just need to know right now. Guys, I don't know about you, but I am such a hot mess. I have had a pretty rough few days, and not because I've done anything strenuous. I mean, actually, the exact opposite. I had a bad night sleeping. I woke up and my shoulders were so tense, like my shoulders and my neck. And usually when I wake up with like any sort of body pains, it's because like I know I slept on my neck wrong. So it's usually just like one isolated spot. But this is both of my shoulders. It's my neck. I feel like when I was sleeping, like I was just like super, super tense, like super, I don't know. So I was in pain all day yesterday. I am right now in my office, which is always under construction. It's like the project that's never going to end. And as I started recording, I noticed there was like a lot of echo back, and I'm like, oh, it's because I'm facing a wall. So I have my wedding dress in front of me and the bag that it's in, and that's acting as a like to absorb the sound. So this is like what it's like to record a podcast. I also have a dog that you might hear because he seems to just be wanting to bark at literally everything today. This is, I think, my 5th attempt at recording, so I am just a mess. I do apologize. Considering that I took the entire day off yesterday from being a person, how am I this much of a mess today? But so yesterday, like I said, I decided to take some time off. I was in a lot of pain. I just didn't want to be very productive. So I decided to just relax and watch. I watched 2 documentaries, and then I got into Selling Sunset, which I don't know if it was a mistake or not. I'm still trying to figure that one out. So, but yeah, I watched I Am Paris, which was really great to like look into her personal life and all of her struggles. It was really heartbreaking to watch. I expected to have some like heartbreaking moments, but the whole thing kind of just had me feeling really sad. She's kind of all over the place, and she definitely needs some help from the home edit. I am surprised at kind of how messy she is considering all of her wealth. I just pictured more of that Kardashian attention to detail when it came to her home. I was just really surprised to see how like disorganized she was. But at the same time, I thought it was really normal, you know, so it really brought her kind of down to earth, or like me. You realize she really is just a person, just like everybody else. I also found it interesting. The thing that happened in the documentary that I found interesting was how she like broke up with someone. And every time she breaks up with someone, she gets a new computer. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's piles of MacBooks in her house, and she needs to do it to protect herself because she's had exes that have hacked into her computers. Like, that's so weird, so crazy to me. Overall, like I said, the documentary ended and I was just feeling sad. She just seems so lonely. She loves and she adores her fans so much because they don't judge her. And when they speak to her, what they say, like, she believes them because she doesn't think that they have any sort of like ulterior motives. So it's like really sad that she doesn't trust pretty much anybody in her life. So when they say something to her, like, it just hits her differently. It was also sad to see her totally lame boyfriend nearly ruin the biggest day of her DJing career. Like, everything that happened to her while she was away at school, like, was beyond heartbreaking. And you really see how that affected her. She can't even sleep at night because she's afraid of these reoccurring nightmares that she has that all stems from the trauma that she endured as a teenager. At the end of it, I just wanted to give her the biggest hug and some sleepy time tea and tell her that everything was going to be okay and that no one can hurt her anymore. It was a very interesting documentary. Oh, and her mom, by the way, like I wasn't a big fan of. And so her mom's sister is Kyle Richards from Real Housewives. And one of the things that I had took a lot of issue with Kyle and her sisters was they always swept everything under the rug, and they were supposed to be like this picture perfect family, and they were never allowed to talk about anything negative, and they were never allowed to talk about the family. And so you definitely see that with like Paris's mom, and that's how she tried to raise like her children, that you are just like prim and proper and nothing is ever wrong. And I think that is just so damaging. And I hated it with Kyle and I hated it with Kim, especially with everything that was going on with Kim and how Kyle just kind of in the early seasons kept like sweeping under the rug. It was just very uncomfortable. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. Anyway, I also watched The Social Dilemma, which I knew kind of like the concept of it because I watched the documentary Terms and Conditions May Apply. And I think that came out like in like 2012, 2013, maybe. So this was kind of the updated version of that. And yeah, it was like super scary. The biggest takeaway was that all of these big players that work in tech and like Facebook and Instagram and, like Twitter and Pinterest, like, and they're all these doctors and super smart people, but they all say like they do not let their children go on social media. And one is even like not even until like high school, like they're just not allowed because they know how addicting social media can be. So one of the quotes from the movies is that there are two industries that call their customers users, and that's illegal drugs and software. So yeah, that was kind of freaky. And one thing that I thought is, as the documentary started, I was thinking about how I am with TikTok and how I get lost on it because like I go through my For You page and I just go, okay, well, I'm going to wait until the next really good video comes up and then I'm going to go to bed. And it takes a long time for that like next really good video comes up, or like a good one will come up and be like, well, it wasn't that good. I'm going to find like the next good one. And it's almost like gambling. And I am not a gambler, but here I am in the middle of the night losing my time to TikTok, or like first thing in the morning losing my time to TikTok. And they talk about it being like gambling with social media and that it's purposely set up that way. And you're waiting for that like dopamine hit that you get. And that's what I would get with like that good video. So I just thought that was really, really interesting. And it's one thing that I think everyone should watch and be completely aware of. And there's really nothing we can do about it. They just already have so much information on us, and the algorithms are just all there, and it's all done so meticulously. Like the one guy, his job is what your Gmail looks like what kind of font, what should the background be like when you have Gmail. Like there's so much thought that goes into what your inbox looks like to keep you addicted and to keep you doing the next thing and to keep you online as long as possible. And I just thought that was really fascinating and everyone should watch it. It was very, very good. So then I got into Selling Sunset, and it was just, listen, I'm on season 2 and I'm watching it because everyone's talking about it. So of course I have to watch it. I'm on season 2, and this is like one of the most ridiculous shows that I have ever seen. And I have watched The Bachelor. So Maya is the only one so far that I actually really like because she hasn't done anything incredibly problematic and she seems very normal. Chriselle is fine. I think she's so stunningly beautiful and it kind of annoys me. She really reminds me a lot of Andy Dorfman from The Bachelorette, and like it's definitely the smile for sure. But I will say that I just cannot with Christine, and I don't know if anyone else sees this or if it's just me, but she's clearly trying to be Erica from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she's not doing a great job at it. Her entire look is a ripoff of Erica, and she's all about being honest and upfront. And when she tells a story, like the whole thing with Davina not being invited to Mary's wedding, like she goes in and tattles on Mary, like to Davina about what was happening. And she leaves out the fact that Mary said as part of the conversation that the reason she hasn't told Davina is because she's trying to convince her fiance to change his mind. That's not being open and honest because you're not, and I understand you're trying to film a TV show, but this is what I mean. You're trying to be like Erica, but you're doing a terrible job at it. So anyway, stir the drama, get the fame, I guarantee you she's going to come out with like a single or an album one day. I would not be surprised. So that is like oh my gosh, I've been talking so long about what I've been doing. But okay, so that's like my recap section, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, there is some breaking news as I record this that I must say. Oh gosh, this is really disturbing. Cheers star Jerry Harris has been arrested on a federal child pornography charge. Oh gosh, this is so upsetting and such a fall from grace. Oh my goodness. A statement from federal offices confirms that Harris, 21, was formally charged in Chicago on Thursday and alleges the Naperville man was arrested today for allegedly enticing an underage boy to produce sexually explicit videos and photos of himself. The statement alleged that Harris, quote, contacted the underage boy on a social media application and repeatedly enticed him to produce sexually explicit videos and photographs of himself and send them to Harris, according to a criminal complaint filed in the U.S. District Court in Chicago. The minor victim informed Harris during their initial online encounter that he was 13 years old. The complaint states production of child pornography is punishable by a minimum sentence of 15 years in prison and a maximum of 30 years. The news comes just days after two underage twin brothers filed a lawsuit against Harris for allegedly sexually abusing them and demanding nude photographs from them. The suit states that the plaintiffs are both competitive cheerleaders who first met Harris in 2018 when they were 13 years old. A spokesperson for Harris told People on Monday, quote, we categorically dispute the claims made against Jerry Harris, which are alleged to have occurred when he was a teenager. We are confident that when the investigation is completed, the true facts will be revealed. This is just so heartbreaking, especially for the victims. Harris really rose to fame on Cheer, which was the docuseries on Netflix. The beginning of this year, I think, is when it, gained popularity. Was it the beginning? Was it March? Was it quarantine or was it earlier than that? I don't remember. I'm going to have to look that up. So Harris he was the star of the show, really came out as a breakthrough because he was really loved for his positive demeanor and the way he inspired his fellow teammates. That is such a wild story. I literally can't believe that. That's insane. So, guys, this was like my intro that I did not really expect to do. So that has been my few days. If you have seen any of these documentaries, please let me know. I think by the next episode, well, for sure, I will be finished with Selling Sunset and I will have much more opinions. I'll kind of recap the whole series and what I think of it. I don't really know what I'm watching right now. It's kind of weird. It's kind of forced, but I'm totally living for the houses. And now I want to do a bunch of construction on my house. And now I'm thinking of how to make my guest room look as LA as humanly possible because I'm loving the houses on that show. Oh, goals. I just don't want any of those women to be my realtor. I'm sorry. I said it. So guys, when we come back, I have quite the show for you. We are going to talk Cardi B. We are going to talk Kanye. I mean, there's so much for us to talk about. We're going to talk Dancing with the Stars. We're going to talk to Stanley Tucci, which I'm really excited to talk about. Yeah, you did not expect me to say Stanley Tucci, but we're talking about him. Really excited to talk about that. What else are we talking about? Guys, we're talking about the Batman with Robert Pattinson. I mean, we're going to talk about Ashley Tisdale. There's so much to get into. And at the end of the show, from one of my favorite parts, we're talking about, because I've been watching a lot of Netflix, I'm going to share some of my favorite Netflix originals and why I love them so much. So you guys are not going to want to go anywhere. You're going to want to listen to that list because maybe it will inspire you to watch something when you wake up and you don't feel good or you slept funny and you can just barely get out of bed. Guys, I am here for you. That's what I'm here for. So guys, take a quick break. We will be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, my friends. I hope you really liked my part one, which was so impromptu, but it was exciting to record. I feel pretty good about that. Anyway, so let's just dive right on in. I think it is time that we talk about all the fun entertainment news that we need to know. And I know we started off with the very upsetting news about Cheer and Harris. Like, that is just so crazy. Like, Jerry was such a fan favorite. I don't know. You really can't trust anybody anymore these days. That's crazy. Anyway, I need to kind of move on from that. Let's move on to another crazy story. Cardi B has filed for divorce from Offset. The WAP rapper filed for divorce this week, saying the marriage is, quote, irretrievably broken and that there are no prospects for reconciliation, after finding out that Offset had been unfaithful yet again. The pair, who share 2-year-old daughter Culture, are due in court November 4th. The woman stood by her man after multiple allegations of infidelity, but I guess enough is enough. Cardi has had enough. Everyone has a limit, and she was generous with hers, and he just took advantage of it, plain and simple. I don't like a cheater, so I don't like him. I'm sure that Cardi did everything she could for her and her daughter and for the family. But like I said, enough is enough. And this is like what I don't understand. Offset landed Cardi B, who's such a beautiful, smart, and successful woman who spoils the hell out of him. And that still wasn't enough. And we're also in quarantine. So like, where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you seeing? Like, he has these wandering eyes and they just cannot be trusted. So good for Cardi for like trying. You know, she gave him so much more grace than he deserved. So good on her. She has a big heart. But, you know, now is the time. So I hope that Cardi has learned from all of this. And next time that the second a man shows that he is unfaithful, that she should just run like the wind, run like Forrest. She's a busy woman. You don't have time for this high school nonsense. But Cardi does have some real friends by her side, which is really awesome. Like, we all need friends to help us in our low times. And I don't know how, like, heartbroken Cardi is over this, but Lizzo sent over some flowers with a sweet note focusing on all the good, saying, the note said, "Congrats on all of your success this summer. You are loved and you are love." Like, that's so sweet. I think that is so cute. Like, we do get by with a little help from our friends, don't we? That is faux show. So we'll see how that. I really hope it is a quick and clean divorce for those two. Offset's not going to find someone as kind as Cardi. Like I said, she gave him so many chances. Anyway, moving on to chances, I guess. Let's talk about Kanye West. Kanye West, what a mess. I can't. So Kanye West was banned from Twitter for a whopping 12 hours for posting private information after the rapper engaged in yet another tweet storm. The since deleted tweet included the phone number of an editor for Forbes magazine and the caption that read, quote, "If any of my friends want to call a white supremacist, this is the editor of Forbes," and then had his phone number on like that. That's wild. West also appeared to be urinating on one of his Grammys with the caption, quote, Trust me, I won't stop. And I believe him. I believe he will not stop. I do. I trust him. I definitely trust him on that one. After deleting a tweet on Monday declaring that he would not release any new music until he is released from his contracts with Sony/ATV Music Publishing and Universal, Kanye West on Tuesday shared a screenshot of what appeared to be a text message conversation with an unnamed advisor who proposed potential game plans and claimed West's masters are worth more than Taylor Swift's, which I do not think is true. I took a poll on Instagram and 66% of you think that Taylor's masters are definitely worth a lot more. West, who Forbes this year estimated had become a billionaire, could buy his masters or re-record them, which was the same, thing that they approached Taylor Swift with. And the advisor said, but if Taylor's cost $300 million, yours would cost a lot more, I assume. The advisor also referring to Scooter Braun's 2019 acquisition of the label Big Machine Records from Scott Borchetta. West could also propose a Yeezy Media and Universal joint venture that is equal but not one-sided, but West replied that he is, quote, not open to any form of business with Universal or Sony. So Kanye is, I don't know if you can hear me like doing this while I'm recording, but I'm just like, my finger is in my eye because I guess now my head hurts from all of this. Like, it's just so ridiculous. So Kanye is back at it, and Kim Kardashian is just an absolute saint for putting up with all of this because this really is just a lot. So Kanye makes me really uncomfortable with this whole like Jesus thing and calling himself a new Moses or whatever. Now, I'm not religious by any means. I grew up a Christmas Catholic, but I went to Sunday school until I got my first communion. So I know there's like this quote out there somewhere that's like, I am your God and you shall not have any other gods besides me. And like, that's a very loose translation. But with like Kanye being so religious as he claims, it just like totally contradicts himself and what he believes. And it makes me just really uncomfortable. The whole Sunday service thing is starting to look much more like a cult. Like, it was really cute at first, but now it's just looking kind of creepy. The whole Yeezy brand is very like Orwellian to me, and that makes me uneasy. Like, when he walked on water at a Sunday service, like, it wasn't cool. It was just weird. And I feel like all of these antics, like, I feel like if all of these antics came from anybody else, they would be much more called out on it. But because it's Kanye, and he's just surrounded by so many like yes people, he's not getting really called out on it. People are just like, haha, Kanye being crazy again, like Kanye this, haha, this is like so typical Kanye. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm just very uncomfortable. I don't like it. I really don't support it. And listen, at the end of the day, I hope that he can find the help that he needs. But this is just all starting to be just a bit too much for me. I can't. I don't know how much more Kim is going to last with all of this. I imagine that Kris Jenner is absolutely horrified. Like, they can't keep making excuses for his behavior or acting like everything is okay. They either need to distance themselves from him or like dive in completely and acknowledge that he is sick, like more than just like a statement, like actively be an advocate for him, as opposed to just like being quiet and like sweeping things under the rug. But I get it. It's like a family matter, but it's like, you have to pick a side. You just have to, especially with the platform that you have. You just need to make a decision. But again, that's just my opinion. And in the words of Taylor Swift, you just need to calm down. I think his value is just going to keep going down with literally everything that he does. Oh my goodness. But speaking of crazy, I hate using that, but that's just where we are right now. Hello, 2020. Carol Baskin addressed the commercial that Don Lewis's family aired during Dancing with the Stars. Carol Baskin from Netflix's Tiger King was on Dancing with the Stars on Monday night, and during the broadcast, the family of Don Lewis, her missing ex-husband, purchased airtime for an ad. The ad asked for any tips surrounding the disappearance of Don in 1997. including whether or not Carol Baskin was involved. TMZ caught Carol as she was leaving rehearsals and asked her about the commercial and whether or not she hoped it would find Don Lewis. She said, quote, "That would be wonderful." She also added that she would see it as a side benefit. I don't really know what that means. It's like kind of weird. But she walked away when they asked. So this sentence is crazy. She walked away when they asked if she thought Donald Trump should pardon Joe Exotic. I cannot believe that is a sentence that I just said out loud. What a time to be alive. Oh my goodness. So I did watch Dancing with the Stars, but I watched it the next day on Hulu. So I did not see the commercial. I heard from people that watched live, like in New York, they did not see it, but who knows? Maybe it was regional. Maybe it was like just aired in, I don't know, like Florida, where at whatever state that they are in. I kind of got like the whole geographically, like where all the tiger people were in the United States. I just kind of got lost. But anyway, it was probably more of a regional or local spot. Who knows? But anyway, so I watched Dancing with the Stars. And my first thought is I'm just really shocked that Carol Baskin was like the last one to perform. Like she was the headliner and it was all Carol Baskin, Carol Baskin, Carol Baskin. But like, I just want to know where cancel culture is on this, because she's literally known for like allegedly killing her husband. Like that's like the public opinion. And that's just kind of how cancel culture works. Like we are the judge and jury of canceling somebody. And we all joke that she did this allegedly, but we're still like, yay, you're on Dancing with the Stars. But there are so many people who have, quote, been canceled who have done way less in our eyes than what Carol has or has not done. Right? Like someone has a tweet from 20 years ago. Well, not 20 because Twitter hasn't been out that long, but like, right, has a tweet from when Twitter first came out, and now they can't host an award show because like we're all up in arms. Like it's just like crazy to me how cancel culture works. And, you know, she's on Dancing with the Stars. And she's just like tapping around the ballroom like nothing's wrong. But whatever. I don't understand. What I also don't understand is why Tom Bergeron is no longer on Dancing with the Stars. Like I understand that Tyra Banks must have been incredibly nervous because, let's face it, she has some pretty big shoes to fill. But she wasn't good. Like, again, I'm going to chalk it up to nerves. So I'm going to see and reserve like my full judgment on how she does this upcoming week. So I will give you how I really feel about Tyra then. Again, I'm chalking this performance up to nerves. What I also loved, I loved seeing Derek as a judge. Derek Hough as a judge is pure genius, and I am okay with him taking the place of Len Goodman literally any day. He actually gives like a true critique rather than just criticism. And you can tell that he's like a genuine fan of some of the celebrities. So that was really cute to watch. I would love to see more of the professional dancers move up the ranks and become judges one day, so we can say like goodbye to Carrie and Bruno. I know a lot of people are going to attack me for that, but I stand firmly with that opinion. Their judging is just simply all over the place. The scores are so meaningless because there's absolutely no consistency. Like all they do is criticize, and then I have no idea why they're giving out these like random numbers. Like AJ deserved more than an 18. And Chrishell getting a 13 was so lame and so uncalled for. She did way better than a 4 for night one. The woman didn't fall. Like at least 5 across the board. I can understand based off of like Derek's critique of the dance, but like Carrie Ann just said like, oh, you have a lot of potential. Like, what does that even mean? What is Chrishell supposed to do with that? Oh, I have a lot of potential, but you gave me a 4K, thanks, bye. But at least you have Derek give her actual advice. Like Derek said like, oh, well, like I'm bow-legged. So when I dance, I have to really focus on that. And I need to be aware that that is how I am. So he has to work harder to make sure that his dancing can like overcome his bow-leggedness, I guess. But so he says to her, like, you're pigeon-toed. And he tells her what she can do to focus on that and fix it as she dances. And that will help her in the long run, because once she fixed that problem, all the other problems that she had in the dance will then fix themselves. But at least he gave her something to be aware on. And he gave her a 5, like the highest. And the other 2, who were just like, ooh, you have potential, give her 4. So at least Derek is giving her like actual critiques, and this is how you can get better. And I think that is what a judge should do. So that is why I would like to say goodbye to Carrie Ann and Bruno and say hello to other professional dancers, because clearly you're doing a better job at judging than the judges. Who knew? Who knew? And, I love a moment where the student, I guess, becomes the teacher. So he was, how many mirror balls does Derek have? Like a dozen? I don't know. Like, I'm just saying. And now he's judging, as he should. I think that's great. So that is that on that. Guys, we have to take another break. This went by super quick. I feel like I'm talking like 1,000 miles a minute, but it's just because I'm just so passionate about the news today, you guys. I'm so passionate. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we are talking about Stanley Tucci. I'm like really excited that he is part of this episode. And later, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite Netflix originals, because I've been watching so many Netflix originals lately. Anyway, so guys, stay tuned. We will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, my friends. I'm going to try and slow down my speech. I feel like I'm talking super, super quickly. There's been so much news so far, and I feel like I've been going all over the place. I'm going to try and focus a little bit more. But again, we have some really fun stories. So now let's talk about Stanley Tucci. I'm so excited to be talking about him. I feel like he doesn't really get some of the credit that he deserves. So here we are. So Stanley Tucci is to release a food memoir called Taste My Life Through Food. I absolutely love it, and here is why. I just love a good memoir, and I love food, so I think this is going to be really, really good, and this is a topic that I can just absolutely relate to. The book, which is being published by Gallery Books, a division of Simon & Schuster, is described as a, quote, intimate and charming reflection of Tucci's life and relationship to food. It will feature anecdotes and memories from his childhood in Westchester, New York, as well as his culinary experiences preparing for roles in foodie films like 1996's Big Night and 2009's Julie and Julia. Tucci will also muse about falling in love over dinner and his home life with wife Felicity Blunt, where he is frequently whipping up meals for their family. Side note, yes, Felicity Blunt is Emily Blunt's sister. Emily Blunt introduced the two at her wedding to John Krasinski. So imagine the dinner parties. Imagine. So the Hunger Games star has previously released 2 other cookbooks, which included some of his family's most cherished recipes passed down from generation to generation, which is just too cute to boot. Stanley Tucci is he's just such a precious gem of a human. I cannot tell you how much I adore this man. He's just one of those actors that always seems to be he always seems to fly under the radar, but he's just in all of those movies that you love. I mean, at least as a someone who likes chick flicks. And some just lighter movies. So, I mean, he's just so hardworking, and we stand a hardworking man. And like I say, I mean, he's in Made in Manhattan. I mean, is Jennifer Lopez more beautiful? I mean, gorgeous. He's in America's Sweetheart, Spin, The Devil Wears Prada, and I argue that he made that movie what it is today. I argue that. Obviously, he was in Julie and Julia, The Lovely Bones, Captain America, The First Avenger, The Hunger Games, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, he was the voice of Herb Kazaz in one of the many heartbreaking storylines in BoJack Horseman. During the pandemic, he was the perfect example of stars are just like us, and started really experimenting with cocktails and really diving into that. And I think that's something a lot of us can relate to. I know that I can. So if you don't follow him on Instagram, do yourself a favor and go follow him. He will share some fun drink recipes, like a Negroni, and it feels like the two of you are just really hanging out and being friends. Again, he is just seems like such a genuine person, and I hope to never get disappointed by him. I really, really do. I mean, please don't pull a Jerry. I know that's terrible to say, but I just really, really like him. Oh my goodness. So I think he's someone, I would just really die to hang out with. I'm not going to lie. Not only does he come off as a great man in interviews and through social media, but if you take the time to read some the introductions of his cookbooks, he's such a phenomenal storyteller. Maybe it's because we are both Italian, so I'm drawn to that type of warmth and food. So I just think it would be a great time and a dinner party that I would never want to end. I'm very much looking forward to this memoir. Like I said, I love memoirs. As a rule, when I'm reading, I'm gravitated towards memoirs, and they're usually very compelling reads. So a memoir around food, absolutely sign me up. I want to take an excerpt from the Tucci cookbook, and he writes, quote, "My mother and I share an enthusiasm for that moment when family and friends arrive at our homes. We love the excitement of people coming through the door, embracing, talking, and greeting one another, and we take pleasure in introducing new visitors to the group." So this is me. I know you can't see me, but I'm raising my hand. Hi, Stanley. My name is Jessica, and I would love to have you and your wife over for dinner one night. We can break bread. We would have such a good time. So that is that on Stanley Tucci. I'm glad I got to carve out about 5 minutes of the podcast to talk about him and how great he is. And again, I'm very much looking forward to this book, and I will probably be reading his cookbook tonight as I fall asleep. Who knows? Next, let's talk about Robert Pattinson. The Batman resumes production after reportedly testing positive for COVID-19. Quote, "Following a hiatus for COVID-19 quarantine precautions, filming has now resumed on The Batman in the UK," a Warner Brothers spokesman has said. Matt Reeves' film originally began shooting in January, then halted in March, and then resumed in early September, and then the shutdown again shortly thereafter. The movie stars Pattinson as Batman and shows a dark, gritty, and violent new take on the iconic superhero. The film is scheduled to be released in October 1st, 2021, if it can, keep resuming to film. Hopefully no more shutdowns. I watched the trailer when it came out a few weeks ago. It's the teaser trailer that went all over the internet, and I have to say that I am definitely in the minority with that. I was not impressed by it. Dark and gritty is great, and I love a good and dark and gritty film, but Robert Pattinson just doesn't cut it for me as Batman 1. And 2, I don't think we need another Batman movie. Again, I am pretty sure I am in the minority when it comes to that. I don't know anyone who asked for a new Batman, but I'm sure somebody did, but it was not this podcaster. So Dark Knight Rises came out, in 2012? Right? 2012, maybe? I mean, that's okay. So that's 9 years. So I guess it's long. No, I don't think it's long enough. I don't think when you say 9 years, it feels like a long time, but it hasn't been that long. No, I'm doubling down. But I'm also not like, no one needs this Batman movie. But again, I am not a comic book aficionado. I'm not even like a superhero super fan either. I just like good movies and I like to be entertained. So the trailer I thought was kind of cheesy, and this black smudged eyeliner was giving me some major Spider-Man 3 Tobey Maguire vibes that I just cannot unsee. And Spider-Man 3 was atrocious. I hated every moment of that movie. I went with a bunch of friends in college, and we went to the midnight showing because we were silly, and the movie ended and we all just sat in our seats and was like, well, that's a joke. They're going to play the real movie now, right? So we waited through the entire credits, just all so bitter, so angry, could not believe we were up that late at a movie theater rather than our house, having a great time. And we were just like, no, this has got to be fake. The real movie has to play next. It was awful. So I can't unsee that. Like, it brings me back to that moment. I also have, like, I still can't get over Robert in Twilight. Like, I saw Twilight in the movie theater, and I've never left a movie so angry that I wasted so much of my time. Like, more angry at Twilight than I was Spider-Man 3. I'm not going to lie. And so many people that I know adore Twilight, and I'm just not one of them. My husband keeps telling me to watch this movie called Good Time with Robert Pattinson, and he says that movie will completely change my mind, but I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. I just can't bring myself to sit in front of a screen and watch him. I don't know. Listen, I hope that Batman is a great movie. I really do, because I'm going to go see it with my husband. I'm just really skeptical at this point, but who knows? Maybe it won't even come out in October, because maybe it'll get like shut down again. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me. I have not spoken to anyone who's on the same page as I am, but it's okay. Sometimes, even if you're right, you're alone. So, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Anyway, finally, I want to say a huge congratulations to Ashley Tisdale. She and her husband, Christopher French, are expecting their first child. The High School Musical star posted a sweet photo of the two that showed off her baby bump. I simply adore Ashley Tisdale. So, like, love Stanley Tucci, don't like Robert Pattinson, love Ashley Tisdale. So it's like this little sandwich that I've created this segment. I just love her as the like questionable villain of the High School Musical series. And her TikToks are just so delightful. I'm just so happy for this couple and their cute little quarantine bebe. Like, good for them. So happy for her. She must be thrilled. The pictures are gorgeous. If you have not seen them, they're super simple. I mean, she's wearing this beautiful long white dress, and you just see her little bump, and her husband Christopher is like right across, and they're touching foreheads, and it's just really, it's a sweet, adorable moment for the two, and I'm just so happy for them. So that is that on that segment. We have one more commercial break in this episode, and when we come back, I am going to be discussing some of my favorite Netflix originals. If you haven't seen them, please go watch, but I'm pretty sure they're all pretty popular. So you might have seen them, or at least one or two or even three, who knows? So guys, you guys stay tuned. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is the podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
We're back, my friends. I am just sitting in my office. I cannot believe that I'm already almost done recording this episode. This is really wild. It went by super fast. I think it's because I was super passionate about the things that we were talking about, and that this first segment really got away with me with that breaking news about Jerry. I mean, that is so insane to me. I am still really looking forward to this little memoir by Stanley Tucci. I cannot wait, and I hope he takes us up on his invite to dinner. I mean, I will create some of my favorite family classics, and the pictures and the Instagram stories would be popping. Anyway, so because I have been watching a lot of TV lately and like really sitting down and, you know, consuming a lot of media, I just thought it would be fun to do this segment on some of my favorite Netflix originals. And I will admit, when I sat down, I kind of had a little brain freeze about what was out there. So then I went into a list on Wikipedia of all the Netflix's originals, and there's a lot. Like, there's so much. I did not realize, and then I got like dizzy, and I was like thinking about it, and I was like running into shows that I didn't see. So 2 shows that will not be on the list, I'm just going to tell you right up front, I did not like these, and if you like them, I am so sorry that they were not good enough for me, but I just didn't like them. And I can't really explain to you why, but they just don't do it for me. So the first one that everyone loves that I just cannot get behind is Ozark. Like, I understand it's supposed to be fantastic. I really do. We all love Jason Bateman, as do I. I just could not get behind the show. And I love Laura Linney. I love her. Could not get behind it. I cannot tell you what it is. All I know is that one actress, who's a great actress, by the way, her accent drives me insane, and I just can't do it. So my husband watches it without me, and while he watches it, I am usually in the bedroom watching something else, or I'm reading a book. I don't know, but I just cannot do Ozark. So I'm so sorry. Ozark will not be on the list. Another movie that will not be on the list, I'm so sorry, and that's Narcos. I can't tell you why I don't like it. I understand objectively it's supposed to be an excellent piece of cinema, but I don't care for it. I don't know what it is. It just didn't do it for me. And for that, I apologize. It will not be on the list. But I love like The Godfather. Like, I love everything else that's like gangstery. Just not Narcos. So anyway, so this list is some of my 5 favorites. And like I said, I kind of had a little brain fart when I was trying to think of what Netflix was. So then I went and I saw the list, and then I got overwhelmed. So this list is kind of ever changing, and you will understand why once I kind of go through. So number 5 is Hollywood. So this was kind of controversial. I feel like a lot of people really loved it, or a lot of people really hated it. So I absolutely loved this miniseries. I knew nothing about it when we started. So my husband and I, we like to watch a TV show when we eat dinner sometimes. And this night we thought, you know what, let's start a new series. I forget what we had just finished. We might have just finished Entourage, to be honest. So we're like, oh, let's put on something light and easy. And so we came across Hollywood on Netflix, and we're like, oh, this looks like it's going to be fun and easy. And it went in a direction we were just not expecting. And I think that's kind of why I loved it so much. It just was nowhere near what I expected it to be. It was really fun to watch. I love the costumes. I love the story. I love the acting. I love the sets. I mean, it was all really rather enjoyable. And it did tie up in a neat little bow at the end. So if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you. So please go watch. And the end is why a lot of people either loved it or hated it. To me, the ending didn't really matter because everything else was just so good. And to me, the ending made sense because it was, is this like the story that we would tell if we could rewrite history? And that's what to me, a lot of people looked at it as very historical, where I saw it as this is kind of what we would have preferred to happen, I guess. Like, if we could rewrite Hollywood's past, this is probably what it would have looked like in a realistic setting, I guess. Anyway, so I really enjoyed Hollywood. If you have not seen it, go watch it. I really don't want to talk too much about it because that is what I loved about it. I loved the element of surprise. So that being said, I don't wish to see a sequel to it. I really hope they don't. I loved it as a standalone, and it's something that I absolutely would revisit, and I would definitely watch it again. So that's number 5. Number 4, BoJack Horseman. This cartoon, I don't know if everyone has seen. I don't know a lot of people who have watched it. I've heard a lot of people who have heard about it but have not seen it. If you have not seen it, please do yourself a favor and watch. It is a cartoon. It is super depressing, but it's so well made. I mean, it's just an incredible work of art. One of my favorite episodes is about like going into your memories. And when they're in the memory of telling this story, a lot of the faces are blurred out because when we think of memories, we don't always see everything clearly in our heads, like faces of like background people, right? Like, oh, I remember going to Disney World. So I'll have memories of Disney World to say meeting David Copperfield, right? Like that's something that happened to me and it's something that I remember and I see in my head. And clearly there's like a crowd of people behind me, but those people don't have faces in my memory. And this BoJack's mom has like dementia, so she's also forgetting. So it's this memory, it's her forgetting what's happening. So faces are squiggled out, like background images don't really make sense, like nothing's really consistent. It's just like so beautifully well done, and it's a cartoon, so it gets away with a lot, and it covers a lot of topics. A lot of it has to do with depression. Like I said, with Stanley Tucci being Herb Kazaz in BoJack, like that storyline alone was just so depressing. And that storyline is about how BoJack kind of got his start, and Herb was a big part of it, and how their relationship ended with the way Hollywood works and the politics and being kicked off of a show. And again, it covers a lot of really sad, sentimental things. I mean, BoJack's childhood home, and it's a lot. It's very heavy. So if you don't want to be depressed, definitely don't watch it. If you're feeling like you want to be depressed, then absolutely sit down and give it a go. It's very, very good. It's very, very funny. We call Nora Mr. Peanut Butter sometimes. Like it's very good. It's a very good, well-made show. There is an episode with like 0 dialogue, which is absolute genius. Again, go watch it. Let me know what you think. Be prepared to be depressed. Number 3 on the list, and it's only on here because I'm watching it right now, so obviously I'm enjoying it, and it's Selling Sunset. I don't know if it's going to stay on the list. It probably won't, to be perfectly honest, but I thought it wouldn't be fair that something that I'm clearly addicted to right now that I don't include it on the list. Selling Sunset, if you have not seen it, is about these real estate agents that work for the Oppenheim Group, and they sell $1 million homes out in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, like on the Strip. It's sickening, these houses. Absolutely sickening. The characters, these women they're okay. I really hate saying that, but they're just kind of So think of it as like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills light, like super light, like light. So they're all successful, but they're real estate agents, and they're incredibly successful, but they're still like not at this like echelon, except for Christine, who like marries this super wealthy man and now is like super glam and does like all this stuff, like clearly sits in glam before shooting and has all of these resources at her fingertips. And again, like I said, she's going to come out with a single any day now because she's trying to be Erica. That's just how it is. The drama is super, super forced, but I clearly can't get enough of it. And it's all very overly produced. See, now why am I putting it on the list the way I'm talking about it? Go watch it, because it's really a fascinating like story that they think that this is what the public wants. And they're like, if we make this, people will watch. And the fact that they were right is like mind blowing to me, because it's clearly overly produced, because a lot of these conflicts could be resolved with a like, oh, well, I heard you said this about me and my man, and I don't need anyone talking about like me and my man that way. Like, I only know my relationship. All of that and all of those like little petty fights can easily be solved with, listen, yes, I said it because I'm your friend and I'm looking out for you. And then they go, well, thank you for being my friend. I really appreciate it. This is my life and this is my relationship. And I understand that what you said came from a good place, but you didn't know us and that's fine. And you move on. But that's not how it works. I definitely have been reading a lot about the show, getting a lot of criticisms, but I haven't read any of these stories or really took a deep dive into anything because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to just watch and form my own opinions. And then afterwards, I will absolutely dive into all of these tabloids and stories because I'm fascinated. I cannot wait to hear. I did hear, though, that Davina lied about her age. Like, she said that she was like in her early 30s, I guess. And then turns out she's in her early 40s. So I really want to take a deep dive into that. And a side note, don't care for Davina either. Like, who is she? Who is she? Like, nobody. Like, stop, girl. Anyway, like I said, after Finish Selling Sunset, I'll probably do like a quick recap and definitely more detailed on how I feel about it. Number 2, this, I'm sure everyone and their mom has watched this, like literally, but it's Stranger Things. I mean, of course, I was absolutely hooked the first time that I watched it, and I was so skeptical. Like, my husband was like, we should watch Stranger Things, and I was like, oh, okay. And I know a lot of people were watching it, but I just don't care for like Halloween-y type of shows or movies. I don't really like horror that much. I find the genre to be very camp, and it's just not my thing. And then I also don't think that they're scary, but that's a story for another day about how my father desensitized me from all of that by making me watch all these scary movies as like a 6-year-old. But that is totally another story for another podcast. So I was really skeptical going in, and boy, was I proven wrong. Like, Stranger Things is a masterpiece. It is so good. If I ever have children one day, they will be watching Stranger Things. It is so, so, so good. I mean, it is on its own level as far as storytelling goes. It is so creative. It is so different. It is so well done. Like, it's not gory, but it is, but it's scary, but it's not. It's just perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Loved season 1. Season 2 was okay. Season 3 was great. I mean, if I had to put it in order, 1, 3, and 2, I am so excited for season 4. I am like, when I tell you that I sobbed at the end of season 3, like a baby, I sobbed. Like the breathing, like getting like stuck in my throat, sobbing. So good. It's so good. And number 1, and I definitely think it deserves to be number 1. It's kind of tied with Stranger Things, but I think it beats it just by a hair, but we will see where the series will go. And that is Mindhunter. We just finished it. Like I said, we definitely took our time in savoring every moment of it. We did not binge the show. We watched 1 episode a night, kind of like the olden days, how it used to be. And it was so amazing. I mean, this show was written for me. Like, I am the target audience of it. It is very dialogue heavy and you really have to follow along. But I loved the psychology aspect by it. And I love how they show how they coined the term serial killer. It's just really smart. It's really well done. It's just such a great show. I mean, it's very disturbing, but not overly disturbing. So each season there might be like 1 moment or 2 moments that really like hit hard and like make you go, oh, but it doesn't depend on those moments to be a good show. And that is what I respect about it. Also, Jonathan Groff is in it. And as many of you know, I asked out Jonathan Groff one time. And so he holds a special place in my heart, but he does such a good job in this show. It took me like a few episodes for me to be really convinced of his character, but now I'm like all in. Like I said, we just finished season 3. Is it 3 seasons or 2? Oh my gosh, I have to look at 2, 3. Okay. So anyway, it's such a good show. If you have not seen it, please, please, please do yourself a favor and sit down and watch Mindhunter. I would definitely watch Mindhunter first of this list. If you don't like it, then stop watching it and try something else. Maybe you'll like BoJack Horseman a lot better. But Mindhunter, like I said, super smart, super good. I mean, really excellent writing. The cinematography is great. It's just all around a fantastic show. And guys, I'm looking at the clock and I need to stop talking. Guys, this was such a fun episode. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe it's because I'm in my own space. Maybe it's just because these stories were just so good today. But I had a really great time recording this podcast. You guys are so wonderful. Please say hi on Instagram at GSMC_entertainment. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Jessica, and thank you for listening to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask for you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a beautiful and glowing review that really helps us out. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, whatever time you are listening to this podcast. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.